Danny Carranos, if I said that correctly, I hope so. Amigo the Devil is your nom du music. There's no, I don't
Yeah.
know. But great to see you. Great to have you back. Congratulations on Born Against. This is the eve of the record drop, basically. And congratulations. I know it's been a process. Yet you are a person you who made your living on the road your whole career. I think even before you became a thing that people became gravitated to your music and became aware of you, you have always you play, I mean, 350 shows a year in the past. So like I'm so sorry for your loss of income, anything you've suffered this year. I hope you're well, your partner, your family, your collaborators. I hope you're all okay and in one piece as much as anyone can be after 13 months of this mess.
Well, I mean, thank you. I mean, hey, thanks for having us. Thank you for your time. It's good to see you. At first I thought it was going to be a relief. At first I was like, well, I would never allow myself to have a break from touring. So maybe this will be a nice, forced, just R&R, just nice little beach vacation inside of a house. And it was not. It did not turn out to be something that I require or desire ever. I just want to be in a shitty vehicle. A nice one would be cooler, but someday. Um, Anywhere. I like driving. I like being in different places. I don't like. I'm the most unstable homebody there is. Just absolutely not good at it. And it it finally got weird enough to where last month the cabin fever just kicked in super hard. I packed a bag and started driving randomly, and I ended up in Wyoming, and I was there for a bit. Did Montana. From there it was too cold, so I drove to Florida. And I did about 8,000 miles in a month.
Wow. Well, first of all, yeah, I'm sorry. On on a positive side, you tried to do something to get yourself out of that. I'm sorry for what you've been through, and you have never been shy about talking about your feelings,
No,
mental issues, well-being, not being okay, coping with not being okay. This is kind of your calling card. So yeah, I don't know, like I believe it's going to get better. I see evidence that it's getting better. We cover tours and stuff. It's been a change for us also. The best, I'm sure, like you, the best thing that I found was for me was to just be as creative as possible, even when I felt low and bad. Was to just keep trying to be creative and pushing envelopes for what my little universe is, and help people. And I think your music helps people, and I hope somewhere in there there's some help for you, because I don't necessarily believe you have to be a tortured artist. You have to find some happiness in there somewhere
oh,
eventually, right?
I mean, I think a lot of the music is a purge more than anything, not so much a dwelling. It's not a place to live. I have absolutely found a lot of relief in other people's music, and I've um, found solace and I found a home in a lot of hobbies that I don't really get to explore on tour. So I've always loved cooking, always, always, always. So I just finally took time to perfect recipes that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. Um, I bought so many records. I can't even tell you how many things I sold just to buy records because that was something that really really got me through. And it was a fun little experiment, but now I probably have too many, so I got to hit a purge real soon. So if anyone's looking for records, hit me up.
Word.
But
An eBay sale sounds imminent here from Danny. Etsy, let's go. Depop, do
oh
it.
yeah,
And Danny, the domestic goddess. That's not something not that I prejudge anybody, because I love to cook. It's actually one of my relaxing things when I get away from this room and this camera and this computer for work. I love to cook and just like put music on, your music sometimes, others. And it's usually a lot of guitar music, like, unless it's something very specific like jazz or something I want to hear. A lot of my cooking music is acoustic guitar based flamenco and singer songwriter stuff.
got that
Yourself.
spice in there just to help out, sauce it up.
Indeed. What music have you been digging on that's helped you through this time?
I think the most ridiculous thing, the most recent obsession I've had, not for a long time. I kind of someone just sent it to me recently, but it's been from New Zealand, I guess. Night Lunch.
Hmm.
There's a song called "House Full of Shit" with a ridiculous video for it, and they sent it over, and I started watching it. And I was like, okay, this is a haha kind of thing, and then it wasn't, and then it was really good, and then I was like, why is this so good? And between that and Vin Diesel put out a couple tracks in 2020 that I've been some club bangers. Just so between weirdo, I mean, I haven't actually been listening to Vin Diesel, but he did put out the tracks. I made so many people listen to those. It's unfair.
Were you aware that Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye from the Avengers and many other movies, Hurt Locker and The Town and things like that, has a music career and has been putting out singles and an EP?
People are getting wild. Is it good?
It's
Okay.
interesting. We covered it at Ghost Cult. I'm not a, hey, why not? It's like 80s rock. Non-ironically, not trying to sound like, anybody in particular, but like that's what he's on, a vibe that's like sort of pop rock. And he's got a good voice. There's no doubt about it. And obviously he's wealthy. So he can afford like the best of whoever. I don't know who, I saw some well-known names on the mixing and mastering. I don't know about producing partners, probably his buddy or something, right? It was fun, like we're past the age where Hasselhoff and Bruce Willis were like, wow, I can't believe they make music. Or Eddie Murphy, who makes great music, by the way, whenever he wants to.
Oh yeah.
I'm still on Party All the Time from like 35 years ago. Still,
I
um,
played the other day. That's a banger. It just
it's a thing.
it doesn't stop. It will never get old.
It kind of needs a Danny cover.
I think it is gonna get one real soon. Real slow and sad one as always.
Oh yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you found some stuff to help you through. Again, music has been my absolute saving grace in this time. And then I don't know what the process was for you between albums, because you put out the covers record. The other record is, I guess, 3 years ago now, the previous one. So I don't know if you had a lot of this stuff written before this time and that this time helped color it in, or you had it kind of developed it during this weird time. I'm not sure which came first, if you want to walk us through that process.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Some of the songs I had bits and pieces for, and they've been laying around for a while. For the most part, the songs that did make it onto the record were new, were written for the record, and all the songs that I had previously written for what I assumed was going to go on the record ended up in the dumpster and on fire because they were just not. There was a weird shift that happened once I felt that kind of the absolute just discomfort of being stationary and being home. It felt like all of those songs didn't make sense anymore, and I didn't associate with them anymore. So I wanted to have a new perspective with the new set of eyes that I had gained being here, stuck. Uh, I guess there's like 6 walls in this house, not 4. But it was it was fun. It was fun to just throw everything away and start from scratch. And then I obviously did pick apart some of the old songs to steal verses from or steal melodies from, that kind of thing. It was interesting, different process from anything I've done before. So very fun.
Nice. Are you a person that, I imagine you could pick up a guitar every day or a pen and a paper every day and just jot down stuff or come up with stuff? But are you pretty prolific, or is it like fits and starts for you like other people, where you sort of come around to an idea and then you pick up and go to it?
I am fairly quick with spurts. So I can come up with a verse that I like or a chorus that I like. And then beyond that, I'm the slowest writer you've ever met in your life. It takes me just decades to finish the concept. So a little bit of both. And I wish that I were one or the other. Like I wish that I could either slowly write a whole thing but steadily, or quickly write something and get it out of the way. because by the time I actually get around to finishing a song, I'm so sick of that initial idea that it's just it's so annoying. But yeah, can't win them all.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's like the writing is fighting Hunter S. Thompson kind of thing. Or I always think about like an artist like Carlin or Dennis Hopper, where they just work all the time.
Mhm.
Never, if you take a break and you go away from it too much, you don't know your value. And if you work constantly or semi constantly, you at least understand you're constantly in the mix, right? Of crafting something. And then I think about instrumentation, right? You pick up a lot of things. You could come up with a melody line, you could pick up an acoustic guitar, but I think about banjo as an instrument that almost like makes you write a certain way compared to guitar and compared to even just your voice. I think banjo is an instrument. It's kind of weird. Just touching a banjo, it like comes alive. And not that I'm any skilled player, but maybe it's the tuning, maybe it's just the nature of the instrument. How do you feel about your like relationship? You like really put it on the map for a lot of people who never, they used to hear banjos and stereotype like Deliverance and dueling banjos, and they don't really associate it with what a great instrument it is till
So it
now.
is a very versatile instrument within its parameters. I won't say that you can do anything you want with it because it's clearly not true. It's always going to have a very percussive element. It's always going to have some sort of harsh element, unless you're using like a nylon baritone type thing, which is no one is. Um, so you are correct in that it does force you to write differently than you would with another instrument, because you almost have to infuse. I mean, unless you're going for just straight aggression and abrasive nature, you have to work with it to like tame it, to give it a sweet nature, or to give it a delicate touch, to give it anything other than just the rigid structural, the percussive nature of it. Um, and that's fun, but it's a challenge, and it does get repetitive. And I've kind of swapped into the mindset where the banjo needs to be used when it is crucial and when it's essential, as opposed to trying to force the banjo to be the instrument for something. Um, I think my favorite banjo quote is Mark Twain. I think it was Mark Twain. It was like a gentleman is someone, a true gentleman is someone who plays the banjo but doesn't, like who knows how to play the banjo but doesn't.
Mm.
One. And it's obviously it's a silly quote, but it's like it's kind of true. Like if you know how to play the banjo, just don't play it all the time.
Fair enough. And I always wanted to ask you. Here's a question I haven't asked you before, which is, do you have a favorite banjoist or a banjo album that made you want to play it? When you first heard it, like, oh, I need to do whatever that is. Is there that thing out there for you?
Yeah, it's Ralph's all the Ralph Stanley stuff. Ralph Stanley's um old banjo tunes are probably the first. Like Shout Little Lily is probably the first song I heard of his. His playing of it, his rendition of it, and there was a very very delicate precision to it. Um, but it was very emotive. He was a very emotive player. And I would normally say my favorite banjo album ever is the Osborne Brothers Country Bluegrass. There's like Roll Muddy River and Roll On, like, all the stuff. Um, but I am not good at rolls. I'm not good at um, any of the roll style playing. I just like the claw hammer and frailing and stuff like that. My brain is mashed potatoes. My words are not coming out how I want them to.
It's all good. I got you, man. I got
Like
you.
not even with gravy, just dry
Just dried,
cafeteria.
powdery on
Yeah,
the box, and just water, no milk, no butter.
I'm sitting here just going.
Sorry, vegans and vegetarian. Not sorry, my vegan pals. I got you, man. No, you're good. It's not the easiest question to like to be ready for when we're talking about a new record. Which let's talk about this new record. I really love Born Against, and of course, I feel like your career arc and your album cycles sort of flow in and out of each other. I love how orchestrated this record is. There's some sparse tunes that are very Americana, oh brother, where art thou? But there's like some glorious shit going on here, for a lack of, better words. There's some really incredible stuff here. It sounds like you put a lot of time in on just kind of arrangements.
Yeah, and it was bigger before. We recorded it and it was way bigger, and then we sat down and we're like, maybe let's take it back 50%.
Wow, 50.
Quite a bit, yeah. And what's really funny is that all the instrumentation on it sounds very full, right? It sounds there are parts that are very operatic kind of thing, not literally, because I have nowhere near that talent, but most of the songs are only 3-ish instruments, and it just doesn't end up sounding that way. So we were very specific about how to incorporate the least amount of instrumentation for the maximum benefit, the maximum reward. And that's where a lot of Fiona Apple came in for me. A lot of kind of studying and exploring the Fiona Apple writing style, which is ultimately very minimal, but somehow insanely full sounding. And it just has constant movement, constant shifting, and it has these surprises around every corner. I'm not saying we successfully did any of that, but we tried very hard. And that was fun. That was a fun little puzzle to try to put together.
Awesome. Not to go down a Fiona rabbit hole, which I could, because
Oh yeah,
I love Fiona, and Fetch the Bolt Cutters was the truth and deserved everything she got,
yes.
and deserves even more than has gotten. But she definitely on like some. Again, I know I'm a writer, so I'm given to fits of hyperbole, and I try not to. But I'm gonna say she's on some Brian Wilson shit, the
Mm-hmm.
last little part of her career, and I'm here for all of it.
Yeah, I love Fiona more than. Ugh. That was one of the records that definitely was on repeat forever. For this album, for Born Against specifically, I would say we were kind of looking at the Extraordinary Machine era quite a bit, and I go into bouts. I shift into phases of which album I'm really living at the moment, and most of my moods are based on which Fiona Apple album I associate with at that time. So
Danny is like a living meme. Which Fiona are you on a scale of Fiona to Fiona here to Fiona there? Where are you?
oh,
Where are you today in the Fiona Apple scale? I'm at about a 7, so I'm like a middle era Fiona right
I was
now.
about to say it sounds like maybe like a later When the Pawn, or for me personally, I'm like an early Idler Wheel right now. I think
Okay.
the first 4 tracks of Idler Wheel is wiser, and maybe that'll shift in the afternoon. I don't know, but right now that's kind of where I'm sitting.
There it is. Depends on the I haven't had enough coffee today, in fairness. So yeah, normally I'm like at 11, and so I feel like I'm at a 7. I had a work call earlier. Anyway, this is the best part of my day right now. Got a couple interviews, doing some ghost cult nonsense. Anywho, I didn't want to lose the opportunity to say that there is some fantastic singing on here, and you did definitely push your range to do new things. You said you're not an operatic singer, but there is like a top of the range kind of part that's very, I don't know. Again, Orbison, like it's way up there for you, and then there's some other stuff that's just very gritty and in character. So, do you make a choice of vocals and melodies based on a lyric? Is it based on what the song calls for? Is it just what's in your heart at that moment? How do you approach that?
Definitely in the moment, definitely the heart in that moment, and that does lead to some very silly mistakes. It's hilarious, like when you hear outtakes, stuff like that. Because I'll be singing, and all of a sudden I'll get this little idea. I'll be like, "Oh, I just go up, go up, go up, go up," and in my mind, and the part will come, and I'm getting ready to go up, and I'm like, "Yeah," and everyone's like, "What was that? Is that a cat dying? Like what? What was that sound?" I'm like, I tried something. It didn't work. I failed. Just leave me alone. This record was very much a departure in terms of I never really sing how I sing when I'm alone. So like if I'm in the car, I sing very differently than I have on other recordings. And I feel like that the car version aligns much more closely with the live version of singing. Like car version, live version, yeah, car and live. But on recordings, I've never really had the confidence to go for what I wanted to go for. And on this record, I was like, well, we're in a pandemic. Just try it. It's the apocalypse. This one. So we ended up just letting loose, and it was fun. And it was rewarding for me. Just felt good.
Nice. That's important, and I love the idea of maybe there's a carpool karaoke Amigo the Devil version out there someday. I doubt James Corden will ever see this interview, but I would love for you to have those opportunities. Um, it just any sense, even if it's not like in national TV, even if it's like your carpool karaoke with a little recorder and Bandcamp Friday release or something, a one-off single. I just have a few more for you. I want to, be respectful. I know you're busy with your time.
Got nothing to do.
Hey, we're all in this together. I've always felt like, obviously you have this, people are, attracted to your lyrics. It's very dark and dry humor. And I wonder sometimes in some cases if you feel the humor escapes other people, because I do feel like, it's like 24 Karat Casket is my favorite track so far on this record. I've been trying to pick one. It's hard for me, but I do like to focus on something, and then I listen to it like 1,000 times in a row in the midst of listening to the record as a piece also. And I wonder sometimes if, maybe that like that smart wry humor just kind of escapes people and they're just like take it for what it's worth, literally, which it's not meant so always to be some of your stuff. What do you think?
I think there are moments of that, but I think vice versa. There are moments where somebody will catch something that I didn't even mean to say and bring meaning to it and make it sound cooler than it was intentionally. Like especially with lyrics. Lyrics are really when I'm saying I was a slow writer, it's mostly lyrics. Because music I can write all day long. Lyrics take me a lot longer because I can't live without packing in as much as I can to a song. And I feel like sometimes maybe it's a bit much. When I talk to people, it definitely seems like some things are lost. And I mean, I know for a fact in older songs, there are some references that no one has ever brought up. No one has ever mentioned the catch or the Easter egg in it. So it used to frustrate me a lot, only because I put so much time into writing these lyrics. And now it's really fun for me because it's like my little secret, like my little and at the same rate, maybe that means that if people aren't catching it, maybe I failed. Maybe I failed in writing it because you shouldn't have to explain something for it to be received.
I mean, fair enough. I think that's the battle, right? You want to self edit and not throw everything out there. Like you said, some of this is very, you're venting and draining the wound and getting stuff off your chest. And then sometimes it's like, oh, that idea is just going to be lost on someone that's not me or in my inner circle. And maybe that's a reference just for me to get, a joke just for me, or a memory just that I can appreciate. But it's hard because I think a lot of artists don't know how to self-edit. I'm kind of blown away that you threw away half an album or dialed it back. This is at an 11 and I want it back at a 4. Like, that's incredible because most artists won't ever do that. Not even don't know how, they won't. It doesn't enter their mind. And so an interesting window into how you work.
It's actually really funny. You mentioned 24 Karat, and I'm looking at something. So that song, every once in a while, a lyric will exist strictly based on me looking around the room, which happens to a lot of people. And one lyric specifically, I rewrote like 35 times because I wasn't sure that anyone was going to get it, that anyone was going to make sense of what I was saying. And it was based on this figurine that I have in front of my desk. And it's, I don't know
Yes.
if you read that.
Yeah, go ahead. Everyone else does. And you
Yeah.
scream that line too. It's
Yeah.
like chilling. It's great.
I
What's
don't
his
think.
face? Why is he rolling? He's rolling his eyes.
Yeah, so there's a little bird above that's about to take shit on
There it
him,
is. Yep,
and
that's also it.
yeah,
That's the line. That's you
that's
know what the bird's about to do. I'm paraphrasing terribly, but I just listened to this song like 85,000 times in a row before talking to you. But it's like literally you know what's coming next and it happens anyway. And that's the beauty of your brain completes the thought, I think, a little bit. Sometimes you can lead a listener and sometimes you don't. But I love like when you do, it's beautiful, man.
thanks. But I actually haven't shown anybody that figurine yet. So
Oh, cool. Well, thank you for sharing. Obviously, we are hoping this thing is going to all end in the world soon. You are a person that makes your living yelling in front of a stick with your instruments in front of
yes,
people, sometimes in a small place, sometimes in a big open festival. I've seen some festivals that are coming back. When do you think you will feel comfortable to go perform in front of a crowd again? Do you think that's going to happen in 2021? Do you think you need to just wait and see? What do you think?
I have hope. I feel more hopeful every day. Um, I personally feel like the fall, 2021, the fall. Um, we're gonna start seeing movement. We're gonna start seeing tours again. I don't know exactly to what capacity, but it really does seem like every day things are getting better and things are getting more hopeful. And I know for a fact, and by fact I mean my fact, so a made up opinion, uh, that we are closer to the end of this than we are from when it started. So we're definitely past that midway point. And again, by definitely I mean I hope, and I'm assuming. And it seems, I mean, here in Texas, like people are playing music and all that, and we have the socially distant shows, the mass stuff like that. But let's just keep hope going, keep fingers crossed. And I haven't played a show the whole time,
Uh,
and my spirit is broken. I'm toast.
I'm so sorry, man. That's just such a loss for you and for all of us. I hope it comes back as soon as possible. And in the meantime, we have this wonderful record to jam on and enjoy and imagine being there with you, but it's not the same thing. I know you've literally made your bones as a human being on a stage every day of your life in some cases, and or getting part of that journey that brings this music out of you is the journey of getting to the next gig, getting to the next city, the next tour, the next country, the next check-in. And so, I'm sensitive to that. A lot of people are hurting, not just you. And I know you're a very DIY person, drive yourself, tech yourself, very self-involved, self-contained, not self-involved, self-contained. The opposite of self-involved, actually. But obviously a lot of people are hurting. Every show, every venue, merch people, everybody in every city, somebody that makes the flyer for you if you didn't do it. So, I'm hoping we get it all back ASAP, and that's what I'm hoping for because I need it, you need it, we all need it
Wait,
in our lives. Just as a funny aside, right before we wrap this up, because we were talking about it before we started, I always wanted to, I know you're a big heavy music fan, and I think a lot of heavy music fans have sort of you've gotten on their radar because you've shown up at some of our favorite festivals like Aftershock and Sonic Temple and what Rock on the Range before that or whatever, and jumped on a stage and done an after show and played in a bar, and people were like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that here with Metallica and Shinedown. So like, what is some of your favorite music that is heavy and not singer songwriter based?
I mean, lately I've been listening to, like I was saying, like Primitive Man really is one of my favorite bands ever. I love Primitive Man, just above and beyond. Um, lately it's been an interesting mix of I always loved really noisy shit. Like growing up, it was just very noisy shit, very grindy shit. And the older I get, a little, the less often I listen to it. But I'm trying to think of the last few records that I bought. Like I just bought a bunch of silly mutilation records and things like that. And um, it's been interesting. I've been kind of stuck on the same two non-heavy records, which is funny. Cinderwell, again, not heavy, but that Cinderwell record that came out is just it's been on repeat and repeat and repeat. And it's so just sparse and just lonely and just crushing. Let's see what. Hold on, let's check. Let's see what's on my Spotify recently played. Bethlehem, This Heat. You know, there's so many bands. I don't know who's in trouble right now and who's not. So there's some that I just won't mention.
Ever the problem? I mean, like every week, I have to go look at the list and make sure
Well,
somebody's not horrible.
absolutely. Like all, especially, I don't know, like Magua put out that awesome record this year, and then people were like, "Oh, you can't do that," and I was like, "Fuck, really? Are you sure?" I don't know.
They just announced a Ramones biopic on Netflix, and immediately people were in my feed like, "Ugh, the Ramones are so problematic." I was like, "Come on!" Like, yes, I know, but also,
Yeah,
come on, man, the Ramones. Like
uh,
this story needs to get told. That book, Joey's story, like he's a New York icon. He's a punk rock legend. Like
it
I
has
you
to.
know, I like you can't apologize for people who are shitty. Sometimes terribly shitty people make great music. Sometimes I think a lot of music fans, let's just take out being an artist for a second and say, I think it's not your responsibility to answer this, but a lot of music fans build their whole identity around a genre or an artist. And
I,
then that artist royally screws up, and deservedly so if they're shunned. But like, like I personally have a hard time. I can't separate the art from the artist. If it's someone I love and look up to goes off the deep end and does something really horribly shitty, I don't necessarily don't love the music anymore, but I don't love them anymore, and I have to distance myself. And you're an artist, and I imagine it's hard for you too.
I think so within that realm, there's definitely also a difference between someone who's done something shitty and someone who's problematic. And I think at that point, if someone does something shitty, you can separate the artist from the art. If someone is problematic, like obviously you're not going to stop liking the music, but it is a lot easier to stop supporting and stop promoting and pushing that music forward. And I think that's where, like, right now, shitty people and problematic people are in one category, and there's a big difference between the two of those as well. Um, so it's I don't know. I think there's a very clear. I mean, I want to say there's a clear line between like problematic and shitty, but I guess there isn't. Um,
It's hard right now, and we're not going to solve this today, although I would love to try someday. I need much more coffee, maybe some beer, and possibly some edibles to just try to get philosophical about this and sort it out. Obviously, there's a terrible problem in all the world right now, and especially, that just mirrors in art. You're going to reflect what the world is. And, obviously, there's no room for racism, misogyny,
no,
and,
that's problematic.
punch Nazis every second you can. But at the same time, we do have a culture right now, whereas if you fucked up once before and nobody found out about it till today, you might be held accountable, which is fair. I understand the technology today is just like there's no jury and there's no trial, it's just guilty. And sometimes some things are unforgivable, and some things are like, that person's views are a little cringy, but not unsupportable. And it's a very tough line. Obviously, anybody that's horrible is horrible, and that's it. But like, I'm not talking about extreme cases. I'm talking about all the gray areas, and it's hard. It's hard out there. It's hard for fans. Some people, someone today is going to discover an artist they love is horrid, and that's heartbreaking to me. Music has done so much for me as a person in my whole lifetime. And I've had the question posed to me also as a journalist, like, well, what if someone you love turns out to be horrible? Well, then I'm going to have, I said already, I drew a line in the sand a long time ago. I'm not saying no one else should. I can't separate it. So if it happens to someone I love, and it has, I have walked away, and that's just my choice. And people have to do what they have to do.
I think there's a very, very I really hope that people start kind of focusing more on uh the whole being good to each other and being empathetic and being supportive of each other's lifestyles when it doesn't affect their own. Like, don't try to shit on an entire community because you personally don't understand it or identify with it. Like, you know, be open to everybody. Like, shows should be welcoming places. Everybody should feel welcome there. There shouldn't be any kind of just even violent emotional responses on. No one should feel threatened for who they are at a show. No one should have to worry about being their true selves unless your true self is shitting on someone else's true self. Then, go away. But like, I don't know. It's I really, really, really hope that this quarantine period, and I doubt it did, but I hope this quarantine period really gave people the ability to be like, all right, I am in charge of my own lawn and keeping it healthy. Um, and just be good people, just be empathetic, be kind, like support each other. Don't shit on each other.
At the very least, if I agree, empathy is in short supply. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe it was, I'm just a very empathetic person and I see a lack of it everywhere else. That could just be my personal weakness or strength. I'm not sure which. It's negligible if it's one or the other. But yeah, it's a weird pickle for the world. But thank you for sharing those thoughts. Not to put you on the spot for all these heavy things right at the
No, no,
end
no, no,
when we were
no.
having so much fun earlier.
I'm just
Um,
thinking, like, at the same, not to
Keep
interrupt, sorry,
thoughts.
but like, at the same rate, there's a thing where there's so much hesitation for change, and like if somebody brings up, hey, this thing you do is kind of problematic, like consider it, give it thought, and
Mm.
like listen to people's opinions on things that affect them, because we're not all knowing, we're not born flawless. Like, it's okay to admit that, oh shit, maybe I was wrong about that. Okay, I see a different perspective now. On a side note, I just remembered Venom Prison is another album that I have absolutely been obsessed with recently.
Mm.
That just
It's a
popped in my
great
head.
one.
So.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I interviewed Larissa. That was one of the highlights of last year for me
Fun.
personally, and fantastic band and great album. And they have a new one they're working on. So we're gonna get more. And yeah, good stuff. Danny, man, it is always a pleasure and an honor to chat with you. Thank you for just your spirit and your candor. It's not easy to talk about some of these things. I am a kind of obtuse in my questions. Sometimes you are a champion. I really appreciate you. Please keep your head up and hang in there.
Oh
Born
yeah.
Against is out this week. This will air probably in a few weeks, but it's out now for those watching. And I urge people to go pick it up. It will lift up your spirits at the very least.
I really appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure getting to chat with you.